Welcome to the Deucecast Extra. We are here for another fun week of Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 2, something about Tatooine. I don't remember the name of the episode. And then, of course, later on, when Roth joins us, we will be talking episode 4 of 1883 later on. But first, Boba, what's up? First, much more important conversation right now is Book of Boba Fett, City Hall Clerk Rifen. That's a mouthful. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I just finalized my last days of college, so I'm going to be graduating fall 22.
Oh! You picked your courses. Okay,
finalized.
Yes,
finalized.
Finalized the plan.
Yes, so, I understand. Yeah. That's well done, sir. I'm excited for you.
I'm feeling very excited.
We will make sure and send a contract over, so you have to continue to do Deucecast Extra in perpetuity.
Right. You're locked in.
You're locked in for life. Tuscan Earl, how's it going, buddy?
Great. Today I'm being sponsored by Dasani Water.
Oh, okay.
And
Aquafina versus Dasani. Oh my gosh, we're all over the place. I guess
I'm doing good, man.
I'm sponsored by Baby Yoda.
That's even better.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, we can't do a Star Wars show without our resident Star Wars expert, Mayor McCheese himself, Nick from Podcast of the Wheels. How's it going, buddy?
I am fantastic, and I'll be perfectly honest, since late, right after it aired last week, and Scott Rifen posted Mayor McCheese, I have not gotten over it. I'm going to carry that. And I even posted, I tagged Pablo, I tagged Matt Martin. I'm still hoping to get a response at some point, but Tuckerization is very much a Star Wars name thing. George Lucas did it all the time. He took Matt in Rebels is Matt Martin. Like, there's so many different characters over the years, going all the way back to the original trilogy, where they did funny stuff with names. So I refuse to believe anything other than Mayor Mock Shaiz is Mayor McCheese.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
I will die on that hill. And I meant to send you the image of it that Scott posted. So props to your dad. And I am also sponsored, but I'm just sponsored by whiskey in general. And I'm going to raise my glass to Rifen for congratulations on wrapping up that college journey. Good job, Ed.
Yeah, that's going to be
exciting times.
And to answer the question, Pablo does respond.
He's replied to my dad
responded to me the other day.
Yeah,
he's got a new account that he's been kind of using.
He does have a new account, and he'll respond to things that are not, controversial and getting into the weeds about nonsense and stupid stuff. Like we're doing Return of the Jedi right now on Podcast of the Wheels, and I was rewatching it, and I had forgotten about the character's called Goal. And it's basically the disembodied head that hangs from the ceiling and has the long tongue and licks people as they walk by in Jabba's palace. So I posted a photo of it and I tagged Pablo in it and said, "How have I forgotten about this guy?" All that kind of stuff. And his response back was something to the effect of, in the production notes, that character was known as Low Headroom. So Pablo will respond on fun things, and
as long as you're respectful, he'll respond to you.
Right.
So
in other words, respect that. I mean,
as long as you're a human being, and you are treat him with
and not
respect.
Looking to stir up trouble. So
yeah, exactly. Well, let's dive into this. And I was joking earlier, but it is called The Tribes of Tatooine. These chapters do have names, so we should honor that. And I did want to mention first-time Star Wars director Steph Green. She was fantastic. Of course, she has directed an episode or two of Watchmen that was on HBO, which fantastic show. She did the L Word, another critically acclaimed show that was, and then a couple other shows. So this is obviously and The Americans, which is a great show.
Yeah, The Americans is.
So she obviously is not new to the business by any means.
Yeah.
So very good.
I gotta say, I a couple days after the episode came out, I went, Robert Rodriguez directed that, right? And then I went and I looked up the credits. I was like, that's a testament to her that I just went, oh, that was directed by Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Because I
Fetmatic, I'm gonna say Fetmatic is clapping for Steph Green because she did such.
Or he's saying hello.
Or he's saying hello. I don't know. I can't really tell.
Yeah, so I didn't notice the difference in direction. So.
Yeah, exactly. So in other words, Fetmatic likes The Americans. Okay. All right. There we go.
I've heard
The
nothing
Atlantic
but
has
good things,
spoken.
but have never gotten there to watch it. So it's
Yeah.
on my to-do list. But if we're talking about behind the scenes and behind the camera for a minute, if I can, and I don't think we talked about it last week because as Mikey mentioned earlier, I've talked about this like 4 different times since last Wednesday, which I'm glad about.
Yeah.
But did y'all notice or have you seen any of the things going around about the cinematographer, the director of photography for this?
For
Dean
the series?
Cundy, for this
Okay.
episode.
Oh, for this
is a guy
episode.
named Dean Cundy, and just the quickest peak of IMDb, we're literally talking like all Back to the Futures, Apollo 13, Roger Rabbit, Halloween.
Oh,
Hold on, there's more. Romancing the Stone, Death Becomes Her,
good for him.
Garfield, Honey We Shrunk the Kids, Deep Rising.
So the dude's been in the business a while.
He's been in the business a long time, and like
he's had a few hits.
Amazing stuff. Yeah.
Looking at the IMDb, it looks like he has been nominated for 1 Oscar for Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So you can understand. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. But
Spielberg.
Yeah, he's worked with Spielberg quite a bit.
Roadhouse, Tales from the Crypt, Big Trouble.
I mean, Roadhouse. That's all the credit that you need is Roadhouse. I mean, so good for that's awesome that they're Rodriguez is that's great.
Bringing in somebody like that to do, and it shows because honestly, like so many of those episodes of Mandalorian, like it's beautiful. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit when we get to Homage, especially as we talk about the train stuff that I want to dig into for a minute. So that was just another, along with Steph Green. I love that the crew and the folks they're bringing in on the backside are making this show look as good as it does.
Yep.
Favreau puts together a good team.
Yeah, and
they seem to know what they're doing.
That's a cool thing about Favreau because obviously he was already very well established in Hollywood before he decided to jump into the Star Wars universe. And so he knows some people. So it's cool that he is able to, snag all these people that are probably, I mean, think about this guy, Dean. I mean, he didn't really need to do anything in his career. He has had the clout, and for him to come and say, "Yeah, I want to work on a Star Wars show," is pretty
John
awesome.
Carpenter.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, and it really, you said it, talking about Favreau and talking about knowing people, it almost feels like it adds another feather in the not very steep reach for me to make, where I keep saying that, yep, Ross is on it, West Wing. Sorry,
keeps coming up,
Mikey, move
keeps
along.
Coming up.
But it's not a stretch to say, and one of my things that I've thrown out there, and I'm not the first one, but like Favreau could be our modern George Lucas. The storytelling, the use of technology, pulling in, again, Cundy didn't have to come out of retirement or come out of not doing that much.
Yeah.
But he said, hey, I want you to do this. And you go back to Kirshner, you go back to Kasdan, the people that Lucas got hooked up with even back then. Like he was pulling people in too. I mean, Alec Guinness, for crying out loud, like he was reaching out to people that didn't necessarily have to come and do this thing, but he went, I want you a part of it. And I think Favreau is channeling some of that. So I think Favreau could very well be a modern day George Lucas. That's all.
Of course, and not to sort of create a lot of controversy, but Kathleen Kennedy was around during that generation of all movies.
I mean, she was producing on things like Back to the Future as well. Right. So Jurassic Park, all the other Spielberg and Lucas connected things that that
she
universe
might have been able to help the hookup of this guy.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's a good point.
That's a great point, Earl.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. But
this just in, Doomcock says that Kathleen Kennedy's going to get fired. So I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, well, good. I mean, that renewed contract that she just got like 6 months ago probably doesn't mean anything.
Doomcock. Oh man. So let's dive into the episode. I mean, good gracious, what an episode this was. I mean, I think this had pretty much anything for every era of Star Wars fan. It had some stuff for the old school people with the Tusken Raiders and the Tatooine vibe in general, but then it had a lot of stuff for the comic book fans. This was huge. I don't know how we want to go through this, but we've actually got some pictures, some images provided by Nick that we can throw up here, sort of going in order of kind of what you have sent over. But I mean, the first big thing that happened.
Well, we start in the modern day, right?
Yeah, he went to talk to the mayor. So, and we've mentioned him already.
Yep.
And look, this is pretty good. I mean, this is good look. This is a great looking Ithorian. I mean,
absolutely.
That work is really impressive, and
I'm really anticipating the gallery episodes for Book of Boba Fett to see, are they do, is the mayor, a puppet or a costume, with animatronics and that kind of thing.
Is he a man or a Muppet?
CGI. Yeah. One of my favorite things, and I loved this angle, and particularly why I sent you this picture, was
this translator right here. Look at that.
The translator. That's exactly it.
That's awesome.
The first Ithorian we get, of course, is in Mos Eisley in Star Wars in 77.
Right.
And it's just the passing, kind of shot with that real guttural, that noise that they make, or their language. For me, the translator became a big thing in Rebels, because there's a lot more Ithorians. Right. There's the bartender in Rebels. And so we get that in live action. But what I also love is you get the dual translation. Underneath it, you hear the Ithorian voice, and then Robert Rodriguez, who we know voiced the translation, was, you get both of those kind of coming out at the same time. And I just loved that connection to the animation.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like Brian's saying, I mean, the translation matrix was awesome. I don't know if that's what it's called, but if it is called that, that's an awesome name for it. So I'm going to go with it. The translation matrix. But I mean,
one of these days I'll know what you're talking about when you mention Rebels.
You'll get to it.
That's another.
You need to watch it.
It's right up there with West Wing and 4K Sopranos
stuff, but.
It's the West Wing and Sopranos of Star Wars for me, so it's at the top of the list.
Good.
Rebels is that good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what is a Boba Fett? Aussie Nate, who shows up from time to time. What's up, buddy? Aussie Nate going to be on. I mean, and I don't know if this is a spoiler alert, but he's going to be on Roth's podcast pretty soon. He won some contest, so
really,
yeah. So that's going to be pretty huge. I look forward to whatever random Australian movie Aussie Nate picks, so that'll be.
If it's not Quigley Down Under, we riot. So
it might be that Tamara Morrison movie. He likes that.
He's been in a lot of Australian movies.
A specific one he recommended to me. I have it on my watch list anyway.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of Tamara Morrison and random things,
he knows.
If you haven't seen it, and I know of it because of the Bombad cast.
Yeah.
If you don't spend some time going to YouTube and searching for the Tim Show, TEM, like Tamara Morrison, there is an entire New Zealand produced series of shows, and it's Tamara Morrison at his house with people in Star Wars costumes, and he interviews Rick McCallum and George Lucas. It came out in 2005. It's been out for years. But it's so funny because it's him as this host personality, and just Bombad Cast plays it all the time and has funny clips, but it's kind of wild, and it's so early 2000s.
It's very early
TV.
2000s.
It's really funny.
Yeah. So the encounter with the mayor, Garrison, were you surprised that it was this Ithorian, or did the trailer kind of spoil that in a way?
I didn't really know what to expect.
Yeah,
it's Star Wars. Really, anyone could have been in that seat. But I just was expecting a corrupt person, and I still am pretty suspicious of what the mayor's intentions are, and what role he plays in this series.
Well, it's very apparent that he assassinated that Nightwind guy to make it look like he didn't hire him. That's to me, that's kind of what he was doing to try and get Boba off the scent of it, basically. Make a big show of assassinating the Nightwind guy.
To me, it seemed very obvious that he had hired him because of that, but
yeah, exactly.
In the continuing list of things that I'm regularly wrong about when I predict Star Wars things that are going to happen,
right?
I did think that the whole Mayor Ithorian in the trailer was a misdirect, and even You know, somebody made the comment about when the trailer came out and the closed caption that came over the trailer said the mayor. I was like, we cut voices over things that aren't the same thing all the time. Like that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So I thought the mayor was going to be a bigger reveal, not that it couldn't still be, and not that the mayor isn't the pawn between the twins or, you know, any number of other things. But I was loud wrong about the mayor not being the person we thought it would be in the trailer.
I mean, we all wanted it to be Watto, but I mean, you know.
Hey, it's me, the mayor.
So Fetmatic being the real Star Wars expert, thinks that the Nightwind assassin was sent by the twins. Yeah, I mean,
and the mayor was covering for him.
And the mayor was,
them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the mayor's probably in on anything happening with the twins, anyways.
Right.
I mean, I think that's all a big consortium of evil there. So
probably has a vested interest in them being there.
Well, and somebody mentioned Kira. I think Ross said, you know, did I guess Kira? That also, again, adding to my tally, I kind of was on the verge of, you know, the assassins that attacked in the first episode. They're wearing the kind of reddish crimson colored stuff. Is it Crimson Dawn? Is it Kira? Dawn. That seemed like an easy, you know, connecting point. So we get this name Nightwind, which we've never seen before. That's something completely new to canon, comic books, anything like that. So that's a newer something else that shows up. Hey, Pete.
What's up, Pete? Good to see you, buddy.
So that was a newer reveal, and that doesn't mean it can't still turn into something. I still think there's a good 50-50 shot that Kira shows up before this is all over with.
Yeah, I think you're right.
my ridiculous theory that I posited last episode is that, or I might not have actually said this on the episode. I know I texted it to you, Nick, is that Kira is the female Tusken.
Right.
She's dressed up as the female Tusken.
I don't know.
My crazy theory.
I
gotta have one crazy
today.
one. Yeah,
I saw literally just today on Twitter there is precedent for humans inside the Tusken garb. There's a comic book arc, and I don't know it because I don't know comic books, but somebody posted a panel of it today, and there's a humanoid something who was raised by a mother who was also, and it says, not only am I human, I'm also Jedi, as he's taking off it's a whole comic book thing. So you're right. And I agree with that theory. I think I think Brian from Pink Milk also said something very similar to that.
Oh, okay. So, well, I mean, I figure, there's nobody ever has their own. There's always somebody else that has a similar theory. Right. So I just think that if she's in hiding from Darth Maul at this time, maybe, I don't know timelines very well with Star Wars,
well,
but
we know Maul's gone by the time Book of Boba Fett happens.
Yeah. So she's not in hiding from him anymore. But I mean, maybe I don't know. She's just hanging out over there. Sherrod Het. What is this? Oh, is that the person that was the human?
I think that's
Fetmatic. He's our Star Wars encyclopedia.
That's which person?
The person that was dressed up as a Tusken in the comics. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, okay.
I like what Pete said here too. It all comes down to who Phoenix said they need permission from to kill the twins. I think that's a big lead into with what's coming up. There's kind of a Hutt Council. We see that in some Clone Wars episodes. Now Hutta, some of those things that were mentioned. So it's also, and I hate to bring this up, Mikey, I'm sorry, but it's Sopranos. When you have the five families,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Taking out a boss is bad for business. Which is a little bit of what the mayor says to Boba before he leaves. That piece of advice, being the head of a family. There's a lot of Godfather 2 that kind of comes out of this series so far, especially with the jumping back and forth. But just what we know about the mafia in general, underworld, those kinds of things. Exactly. You got to get permission from New York. Sometimes New York is in on it or tries to be. Roth knows what I'm talking about. These
wings and Sopranos, these are just words you're making up, right?
I don't know. Pete is on to something, and I want to give credit to Pete. With that, as far as that's going to be a big, especially if we get to a point where we're in that more current timeline, because I feel like maybe for the next couple of episodes, maybe we move away from the flashbacks that we're about to talk about.
Yeah, it makes you wonder because they made a big deal of having like the Vision Quest aspect,
and it was most of the episode,
and it was most
of like the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, so. That's one aspect of the episode I kind of wish they had flashed back and forth more, because it pretty much was just present day and then flashback. And
it was split in half, wasn't it?
Yeah, almost.
Just about, yeah. I mean,
No.
and longer
1/3,
on the Vision
2/3.
Quest
Yeah.
stuff.
I would say it felt longer on the flashback side
definitely
because you
was.
have going to Tassi Station, you have the Vision Quest, you have the training, the
Yeah.
train, all those different things. And really those first opening like 10 or 12 minutes were, the modern day with the mayor and the twins, which, I think that's kind of where we are as we're talking about it. We still haven't gotten to the twins. We haven't got to Black K.
Man.
We got to talk a little bit, guys. Yeah.
That moment with the twins. Well, first of all, I've got to say that the drums, you hear the drums.
Yep.
That was a good effect.
Oh man, I love that whole setup, and then completely blown away. And how dare you not send me a picture of the twins, by the way? Or did you?
I did.
Oh, I must have forgotten it. Dang it.
I failed you again.
No, it's my fault. I probably didn't. Yeah, probably didn't. But anyways, they look great. I mean, personally, I think they look great. I know some people online are like, "Oh, this just looks
they look pretty good."
They look pretty good to me. I mean,
the hut? Are we talking about the huts?
The huts, yeah.
I
think those are the best looking huts since Jabba in the original trilogy.
Right.
Way better than special edition on Mos Eisley. Stupid that thing.
Yeah.
But also, I will say
really
better than Jabba in Phantom Menace, which is really the only other. That's a better CGI than the special editions. But like behind original puppet Jabba with like 5 people inside of it, I think this is number 2 for live action.
Yeah. Now, one thing that trying to figure out who these huts are, they specifically don't name them. I mean,
Correct.
So there's a lot of theories. I'm sure Fetmatic could tell us who they possibly are, because
we know they're Jabba's cousins.
Yeah, they're the cousins.
Oh, I thought that they were his niece and nephew.
They said cousins, if I'm not mistaken.
Did they say cousin? Okay. Well, then that
Petmatic, we need you, but I'm pretty sure they said
cousins. That throws my theory out of who they could be.
Wikipedia says cousins, so I'm
okay. Wikipedia,
them.
The Bastion. Yeah, see,
Stinky.
Yep. They're not stinky. Although Stinky's great.
It's not Rada.
No, that's the wrong species.
But it's Rada's kids, though, isn't it, or something?
I think it would be Rada's kids. I think you're right.
Yeah. So it's
potentially,
Rada's,
unless there's other siblings.
Yeah, well, this is true. There could be a bunch. I mean, we don't know their breeding habits. We don't know how many huts come out of
that way. If we're being honest.
Exactly. I prefer to say that way also. But
I'm glad to be in the dark about hut mating habits.
The mating habits of the huts. Yeah, I mean, so it's very apparent that the huts are still in some form of power, even though this is not hut space. Which is pointed out, I believe, that they're not in hut space. Doesn't Boba point that out specifically? I thought he said something about along the lines of it not being in hut's territory or hut space. Or anything
they talk
that.
About the claim.
Bring back
because
Zero.
They talk about.
I want my Truman
Bib
Capote hut.
Bib Fortuna claimed, and then you took him out, and that whole thing. Hold on. I'm actually sending you a picture of the twins right now, Michael.
Oh, dude, I'm not. Do not. No, it's not. I'm not going to do.
Where is Rhett when you need him?
He's busy watching soap operas right now.
Speaking of things I don't want to hear about, it's Rhett talking about hut mating habits.
Exactly. That is definitely not something I want to hear about. But yeah. So these are. I was surprised at how reticent they were to just walk away from Fett in this instance. He said it was bad for business. They said it was bad for business to shed blood, which I've never heard a hut say that before. I mean,
they
always seem pretty aggressive.
And it comes back to the mafia stuff that we just talked about a minute ago. It almost feels like maybe they recognize Boba. That's what it was. That's right. Night Wind assassins cannot work within hut space. So there was a violation of the rules and the whatever. But yeah, with Boba, with the twins, it almost feels like there's a little bit, maybe they're giving him more respect than we're picking up on.
Yeah.
By saying, again, I hate to bring up the Sopranos again, because I'm really not taking shots at Mikey at this point.
No,
but
I don't care.
They say in the Sopranos pretty regularly, killing a boss is bad for business. So if you're going to take out the Don of New Jersey, or you're going to take out, Carmine in New York, or whoever it is, like that's going to cause a whole bunch of other problems. You've got to you've got to want it if you're going to do it. Like you're going to have to deal with the fallout, deal with whatever. So maybe them saying that is them recognizing, okay, Boba does have some clout, whatever it might be, because we don't fully have all that picture yet, but it's not a headache they're willing to, get involved with at this point.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he has clout just in the sense that he took the position by force that he's in.
Sure.
And so they don't, they don't
recognize his game, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. They don't necessarily, if they took him out, it would be basically them saying that the position that he currently holds has no standing on Tatooine, basically. So it's interesting. The biggest, I mean, for me, it was like mouth open wide moment was this guy right here. This is a comic book character, obviously, Black Chrysanthemum. I, not being a comic reader, but keeping track of what's going on in the comics just by listening to various podcasts and YouTube shows, because I still want to know what's going on in canon, even though I'm not taking it in. I knew of the character.
And you were ahead of me on that. I didn't have any idea.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that I knew about his relationship with Afra, or he was in comics with the Dr. Afra comics, but he also made his first appearance in Darth Vader 1. Karen Gillan is I guess the creator of the character.
I actually think, and hopefully Karen Gillan's watching and enjoying Deucecast Extra tonight. I think I saw him tweet something last week right after this dropped that it was being misattributed. He didn't create the character, but maybe he wrote the character. Like there's a little bit of an in-between, because a lot of times with comic books you've got the artists and you've got the writers, and so I feel like he's getting a lot of credit, and not that there shouldn't be credit given, but there was something that was said early on, like it wasn't my original character, but I was certainly a part of like that beginning process, if that makes any sense.
I mean, and I'm sure like I'm sure these guys aren't like the creator of the character. I'm sure that this is a Lucasfilm, hey, this is the character we'd like to see in the comic. It's probably a collaboration on it. But absolutely. I mean, the reason I wanted to show this is just because how accurate he looks on the show. I mean, they did such a good job with this visually. I mean, it's really impressive looking.
Well, and let me ask this group this question because this plays into the whole, like, me not reading comic books, me not knowing. What is the viewing habit for new episodes of Boba for this group? Is anybody staying up till it drops at 2 a.m.?
I do.
I mean,
I do.
It won't happen for me.
No, that doesn't happen for Earl. No, he waits.
I did the first week, and I paid for it for like 4 days. So I didn't last week, but also I get up at like 5 because my oldest daughter is my Star Wars kid, and so she and I get up and watch it before we have to get ready for school.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
Even at 5:30 in the morning, I'm up, and when he came on, again, I had no idea, and I was, like I said, behind Mikey. Wasn't familiar enough to even know that I was like, oh, that's a cool looking Wookiee.
Yeah,
I moved on, and then I did my thing. I took kids to school. I went to work, and at like 10 o'clock, I checked Twitter, and a bunch of people were losing their minds. I was like, oh, that's a thing. Like I had no idea.
Yeah.
So Roth, do you stay up? I mean, you're on East Coast, so you're at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, and sorry, I'll have to get to. We've got a bunch of comments here about people that stay. Let's see. Roth stays up. Rifen does not.
I mean, Rifen, that's what I meant. I didn't mean Roth. I meant Rifen.
I have several times stayed up for some of these Marvel or Star Wars shows, and unless it is an amazing episode, it's not a good experience for me.
Yeah. I did it for the premiere, and I fell asleep a couple of times during it. Like I nodded off during the premiere a couple of times, and that was another reminder that, first of all, I'm aging rapidly, and like again, I paid for it for like 3 or 4 days after. So even last week, though, at 5:30 in the morning, like I feel like I missed a couple of things. So on a second watch, halfway through Wednesday morning, I was like, oh, that was another thing.
Yeah, it can give me a negative perception of an episode if I do that, and it's not. Again, it's not.
It did for me for the first one. I went, I kind of don't care. And,
Well, I mean, and that's fair, because depending on how much Zoa I've had, it is my ability to stay up or not. If I've had enough, I've got a new flavor to try tonight during the 1883 portion of this.
Depend on the rock juice.
Depend on the rock
there
juice,
it is.
exactly.
And for me, it's the opposite. Depending on how much whiskey I have, I'm just going to go to sleep. So.
Right. See, if I had whiskey, I'd be asleep. So it wouldn't. Yeah, that would put me to sleep in a heartbeat. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what happens with that character, because you don't introduce that character without the intention of there being a really cool fight scene with he and Boba at some point. Now, what's interesting is the comics, they've worked together. So and Boba even takes a jab at him that I couldn't find any information on if that jab was something that happened in the comics, but I really didn't dig that deep either, though.
It is. Okay, so from my understanding, and again, I'm not a comics books reader either, but having watched other, like Star Wars Explained video, some of those other things in the comics and in the arc of Black Chrysanthemum, he at one point willingly submits himself to some gladiator pits in order to become a better fighter and assassin.
Gotcha.
So I don't know about the sleeping Trandoshan part. I don't know if that comes directly from a comic book arc or he, cheap shotted, took somebody out. But the fighting pits of Dur, which I think is what Boba says, these aren't the fighting pits of Dur. That ties to him saying, I'm not a gladiator. These aren't the fighting pits. And I'm also not a sleeping Trandoshan. So that is tied directly to the comic books and part of his arc.
Here's what I love about that little comment that he made. It's not making a jab at his mother or something like we saw in a movie that may have come out a couple years ago. That was a Star Wars film. So it's not like a real he's taking a jab at him for something that happened in the Star Wars universe that had and doesn't feel like a jab that somebody could make on Earth. So that's what I loved about it.
There's a real, and he's also saying, don't play with me. I know who you are. We know who each other are. Like there's a history there, which is what they, kind of hint to.
Yeah.
My theory, and you talk about a showdown between him and Boba in this series. One of my, I don't know if it's a step out there theory. I think this is actually planting a seed for Obi-Wan. Because in the comic books, and there's a panel, and I don't know if I sent you this one or not, Mikey, the scar that Black K has over his eye comes from the comic books because of a fight he has with Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I feel like this is a very typical Star Wars and Marvel thing to do, which is to say something here and then pay it off in another series. And so I think Black K shows up in the Kenobi series. And
we get to see that we get to see why he has that scar.
Even if we don't get that specific moment, because there have been other people who have said, what if we get a live action version of the Kenobi Mall, Rebels thing, whatever it is. I don't know if we get that one-to-one direct recreation in live action, but I think this could be one of those plant the seed moments for something that's coming in another series.
Yeah, that's true. So pretty much the Hutts in this moment, they decide to back off. So we see them back off, and then we kind of jump straight into, and they always have to do the cut scene to the Bactapod to make sure dream sequence coming. Here's
the Bactapod is the equivalent of in Wayne's World when they go, that's exactly what it is.
Totally.
So we are jumping into
back to the
Bactapod. So we're getting this part of Boba's relationship with the Tusken Raiders is continuing to progress in a positive way, and he's starting to go on like little missions with them and help out with all of that type of stuff. So Ryfin, what's some of the stuff that you took away from this particular dream sequence? I mean, because there was so much of the episode,
so long.
There's a lot of it.
I liked it. I really liked the parts. I mean, it basically becomes a almost like a Dances with Wolves or kind of like that, where they're helping each other out to meet a common goal, kind of. But I really liked, I guess, if we get into it, he sees them get massacred. Obviously, that happens first, and then
right, the
they
train
teach
comes
each
by.
other. They teach each other things. You know, they teach him how to fight with the stick. He teaches them how to ride the scooter things later on.
Like a
Yeah.
panther.
Yes,
The new meme, the new popular
Exactly.
meme, yeah.
But I really liked, and this may be a weird thing to say, one of my favorite parts of this sequence was seeing Boba Fett get to make his own little what do you call it?
Gaffy stick.
Gaffy stick.
Yeah,
That was
Gaffy stick,
awesome.
yeah.
Yep.
Sort of
Yeah, and
right
it's
here.
straight out of the Macquarie or
That's
whatever.
Ralph McQuarrie.
Yes, it
right?
is.
Yeah.
Ralph McQuarrie, my favorite.
That is amazing.
This may have been the second image I was most excited to send to Mikey that we can talk about.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is I'm such a sucker for Ralph McQuarrie, and the way that Ralph McQuarrie's art continues to get used, whether it's Rebels, whether it's Bad Batch, whether it's right now, like these scenes are continuing to have such an impact that it really, I like how we're all trying to figure out which way we lean to get it out of here. But yeah, you're right, Roth. That was Rifen. It's a great moment to show what we again got paid off earlier in Mando season 2. He shows up in the tragedy. He destroys a bunch of stormtroopers with a gaffy stick, and now we get, that's where this gaffy stick came from. He earned it.
And he made it. Yeah.
Yeah, he
That
made
was
it
cool.
himself.
That was very cool. I loved that also.
He somehow came back with it after his vision quest. Somehow had a stick, and
Well, yeah, exactly.
No, I like it. It's
yeah. It's good stuff.
It's just the right size.
Oh man, I'm missing some.
Well, and you
here.
said it, Rifen. You said it as well about, or maybe it was even in the chat. Oh, Ross said it. Very Filoni story here as well. I think he's done it in every show. Warrior shows locals how to fight.
Yeah.
We get it in Mando in the episode with the Walker and, that village with the woman that he kind of has a connecting point with. That's very Seven Samurai. That's very,
This is almost more local show Warrior how to fight with their tools. And then he shows them how to ride his tools.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's very similar.
Yeah. And,
it's also very Terminator. He goes into the bar.
He goes
to fight,
in the bar.
and he even throws a guy through the window. Then he comes out, puts on a jacket, steals the motorcycles.
There they are.
And of course, Cammy and Fixer were in the bar.
Yes.
I don't mean to jump out of order, but it is.
This was quite a moment for Star Wars.
I kept thinking, is that the real Koo Stark? But then she would be really old now.
No, she's
But they did a great job casting the people.
Yeah, they look all right.
I'm trying to think of the timeline though, because wouldn't they be? So this is post Return. No.
Yeah, this is post Return of the Jedi. So the dream
They wouldn't be
sequence
that much older.
It's 5 years post Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, they wouldn't be that much older. I think it works. It works fine. Yeah.
Luke's age, right? Maybe a little older than Luke.
I always felt like Fixer was older than Luke. Like, I don't know. Maybe Cammy wasn't, but
I
Fixer.
felt like Cammy was around his age.
Yeah, Cammy was around his age.
Fixer, maybe.
Cammy was a looker too. I mean,
Koo Stark.
Koo Stark. Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, that's a whole.
That's a whole. Yeah, we don't. We don't need to go there.
Nope.
But it was cool seeing them.
It took me a minute to process that. I was like, wait a minute, these seem like something that I should know.
Oh, the dark shades. Like,
Tashi Station. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying there.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Terminator's dark shades.
Exactly. So yeah, it was cool. Boba actually got some cool hand-to-hand combat in the bar. That was neat to see.
And did anybody else have a minute where, like, he does throw the guy through that window pane, and that had like a superhuman strength kind of moment where it was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And a post-dramatic effect. It's fine. If he did it all the time, we'd wonder how that happened.
Yeah. I think he was. I think it was for effect.
He's Boba Fett. He's got super soldier serum in him.
He's
the
Captain America of Star Wars, and it was Tashi Station. Yes.
Jacob had a question.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, I think it was. It was
definitely Tashi Station.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
because in those deleted scenes from Star Wars, it looks exactly the same. Like they recreated the look of that space and that building, and which to me looked like a cargo shipping container that we see now in modern day.
I like that it was just there.
Yeah.
They didn't just go, this is Tashi Station, and we've got some power converters here. And blah,
They
blah, blah.
didn't-
Like they
Yeah.
didn't have a wide shot of a town and the popped up on the screen the word
Yeah.
said Tashi
Tashi.
Station.
Yeah, exactly. What were you going to say, Earl?
Oh, I just remember being, I saw the original A New Hope movie in 77, and I bought the novelization.
Mm.
And I remember in that original novelization by Lucas, you're like reading this going, now, wait a minute. Who's this? Who are these people? Like, who's Biggs and who's Cammy and who's Fix? That's it. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I've got
Earl's
mine.
probably got it back there somewhere.
See, Earl's got it. Yep.
It's downstairs. So
I've got mine over.
But just
somewhere.
just sort of
Yeah.
the mystique of that, like, oh, wait a
Yeah.
minute, this is something beyond the movie. I like that to have a little
Yeah,
extra.
yeah. The novelization, the ever popular movie novelization that doesn't happen much anymore.
didn't the novelization come out before the movie?
I believe
don't know. One of the
so.
Star Wars movies that definitely happened. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
The
isn't
prequel-
it also in the comic, the original Marvel?
Yes,
comic?
1976. Copyright 76.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't realize that. That's
They were
yeah,
at the
that's-
wrong place at the wrong time. Therefore, they
Yeah.
became heroes.
That's right. That's right.
Journal of the Wills.
Journal of the Wills. That's right. So yeah, I mean, we moving forward. Then the whole train sequence happens, which I think you sent me a picture on the train sequence.
Oh, I definitely sent you that.
Oh, the train was.
Yep.
Yes, that is
Oh,
correct.
wow.
Here it
Look
is.
at this.
Wow.
Now Earl's excited. Look
I
at
didn't
that.
notice that.
Look at that.
Yes.
That's
All
one
right,
of my-
so this
Yeah.
and the bottom scene, the Book of Boba Fett scene, this is from, and I love, they did this in Mandalorian. They do it in Book of Boba Fett. They run the concept art over the closing credits.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that bottom Book of Boba Fett image, that wasn't in the show. That was one of the concept art prints
Yeah.
that they used.
It's
But
exactly.
it's very obvious that it's Lawrence of Arabia, and that's where the
Yeah.
inspiration was. That's where the homage comes from, which again leads to my, Filoni, Favreau, modern
Mhm.
George Lucas is like paying homage to these other things that inspire them.
Oh, yeah.
Even Steph Green, for all we know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved that scene, and I can't take credit for it because that was an image I got from somebody else on Twitter when they put it
That's
up.
really
But
cool.
it
Yeah.
was a mind blown moment where I went, "Oh my gosh!" And
Yeah.
for me, the thing that I put, and I wrote a blog post on this earlier today because blogging apparently, you can still do it if you want to. Part of what I love about Star Wars and why Star Wars feels so familiar is because it connects to all these other things that we've seen,
Yep.
whether it's Lawrence of
Mhm.
Arabia, whether it's
Yep.
Kurosawa, whether it's Westerns.
Yep.
Like there's so many different things that we go, I feel at home here because I've seen it somewhere else.
Uh-oh. That's
fine.
it's a little low.
Jacob, we could talk about that.
It's a little low, Jacob. No, I'm just
Need to pump those numbers up, rookie.
yeah.
Okay, so
Wow.
with the train sequence, let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
We get the pikes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is the first time we've seen them, right?
Well,
Live action?
Live action.
No, we get
Live
live action in Solo. No, we get live action in
Oh,
Solo.
that's
'cause
right.
When
We
they go
did
to
get some
Kessel,
live action on Solo.
those were pikes at that point, which again, Kira,
Hmm.
pikes, connections.
Mhm, mhm.
It is one of those moments where we get something that seems similar. The outfits, the main pike, and I didn't send you the picture of this, the guy that stands up, this or girl or whoever it is that's the leader.
Mhm.
That outfit is very similar to the disguise that Kira wears when they go to Kessel to have that moment when they meet the Pikes. They do that whole thing.
Yeah.
I like what Ross says. First times we see the Pikes maskless.
Oh, that's
My
true.
favorite,
Yeah.
my favorite part of that is the mask is basically a 1-to-1 to their real face. So like the little tubes that come off is where the
Yeah.
whiskers go in, which makes sense. Like if you need
Yeah.
a mask, you want it to fit your face.
Yeah.
As a beard haver and people who wear masks all the time now in the world that we live in, like half the time, like my beard is sticking out of it. Like it's a thing.
They need
so-
a beard mask.
That's right. The Pikes are doing
That's
it
not COVID
the right
compliant.
way. That's a different thing.
Yeah.
Earl's a doctor. He can tell you about that later.
That's not
yeah.
COVID compliant.
Yeah.
But that train sequence was so much fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
And really like, when the female warrior Tusken shows up.
Oh,
and, like,
man.
that
Mm.
killer moment.
That was
cut the
awesome.
train off. It was so good. And it had I don't know what I want to compare it to, but honestly, the episode I thought about was in the first season of Mandalorian with the prison transport. When Mando, like, it's in the red and it kind of that horror, like, first he's here, then he's here, then he's here.
Yeah.
You know, when she goes in the one thing, somebody disappears down and she pops up in the next one. Like, it was such a great, like, classic movie moment. You know, the pro is here to take out the bad guys.
Yeah, it reminded me of Last Crusade when young Indy was trying to jump on the train. I loved, and he had some pop out of the thing moments.
Hide behind the door while they shoot behind the door.
Yeah, exactly. I loved all that.
I agree with Roth on that it did sort of, it was like it did make the whole flashback worth it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a very cool moment. I mean, and the scale that they were able to portray that in, knowing what we know about what they're shooting on, and I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Oh,
I mean, because
this
is not like, this is just on the volume.
So you're saying you didn't see the screen this week, Mikey?
I actually didn't, and I wanted to mention that. I gave it a hard time that first episode, but this episode felt like huge, and
a huge expanse.
Yeah, and I did not see anything to my untrained eye that really.
Again, give us those gallery episodes so we can find out exactly what it was that they did.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably going to show. So I hope they give us more than one episode. I loved that first season of Mando that had like a lot of episodes of the gallery. I hope they do that again, but it just depends on what they can do for COVID and whatnot. So we got to talk about this whole fever dream lizard thing. I mean,
peyote lizard is what the internet is calling it.
So yeah, one thing, you know, obviously there's some spice involved in this process because he had spice blown in his face first.
The spice was slow.
The spice is flowing. So they blow the spice in his face, and then this little lizard, he's like, oh, it's a lizard. He almost sounded like, when he said lizard, I was like, is that Daniel Logan? I mean, he sounded like what I would think Daniel Logan would sound like when he was saying, oh, it's a lizard, Pop, or whatever. I mean, it was just really funny sounding.
Yeah, Dad.
Yeah, Dad, it's a lizard. But
a nasal lizard.
Well, and it added a great humor moment because
we forgot to mention the droid conductor. Droid
he's
conductor.
Like,
very Grievous like spider-ish.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, but the humor moments, and we talked about it last week with the first episode, you know, especially between Finnick and Boba, you know, isn't he supposed to pay me? Like those little the aside moments, like the humor in that. So in this moment with the lizard, I laughed out loud when he goes, I think I swallowed it. It just made me laugh. Like
he was embarrassed by it, and the Tuscan's like, oh, that's what's supposed to happen. You're about to have like
it works.
A fever dream.
No, it went to your brain. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. It'll just destroy you.
Like, yeah,
I would not want a lizard in my nose.
Yeah.
So the one shot you sent me from the fever dream sequence was this weird tree thing with the Jawa eyes or whatever these are. Do we think they're Jawas?
Based on also previous Ralph McQuarrie art, there is a Ralph McQuarrie art or a concept art, something that is Jawas in a tree. What I thought was interesting was the Jawas we get in the original trilogy have the yellowish white eyes.
Right.
But in Mandalorian, those Jawas have the red eyes. And when they even marketed it with the Black Series action figure, it was marketed as an off-world Jawa.
Oh yeah, I've got that figure somewhere actually.
And the off-world Jawa. And the off-world Jawa has the red eyes as opposed to the traditional yellow ones that we knew from the original trilogy. So either way, there's a tie to Ross says it too. Red eyes are off-world Jawas. There's a tie to that concept art, whether it's McQuarrie, whether it's whoever did the art, you know, Doug Chang and those folks on that team that did it for this series. Those quick flash images tie to some of that, which I just thought was cool.
Yeah.
I don't think those are Jawas. I just don't know why, but
what do you think they are then?
In Rebels, where there was some eyes that were watching somebody who was out. So I'm just trying to remember what were those? The bird, the owl, or whatever.
You're talking about the Morai or the Convor? Yeah,
the Convor were the owls.
That was more the Confor was more like
that's more force related, but
it's more force related, more like a talisman for Ahsoka, almost like a talisman's not the right word, but
I mean, why Jabba's in a
Lothcat? Esposito said it. Lothcat could be a better, something that was in a tree, was watching, but there was still some kind of connection, like nature wise.
Yeah, and I'm not
the Cheshire Cat. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Yeah, I don't know just conceptually what they were going for with that, just that whole tree sequence. Other than that's where he ended up other than that's where he got part of his gaffy stick. Yeah.
I think the other biggest part of it, and what I took from it, and again, everybody's open to their own interpretation, but like we get the flashbacks to Boba as a kid, watching his dad fly away, him holding the helmet, and so what we really get out of this is. It's the sorry,
I didn't want to say anything.
It's okay. It's
the Garrison
Boba. This character, and I said it, I think last week, or I may have said it on Streaming Star Wars last Friday night. I didn't think that I wanted an emotionally developed Boba Fett. Like I was happy coming into this series going, he can be an action guy. He can be what I got as an original trilogy kid, which was, 6 minutes of screen time, 6 lines, whatever. But this indigenous peoples arc with the Tuskens changed the way I felt about that. And so I really think that looking at it, getting these moments, getting his ability to realize who Boba Fett is. He's a character born out of tragedy. He's a character born out of the things he's had to deal with. We've had a couple of shots of him holding the empty helmet of his decapitated dad. The scene of, Boba Fett's starship, or what it becomes, Jango Fett's starship, flying away from, what's it called? The planet. It's rainy. They make
Camino.
Yeah,
Camino. Yeah, flying away from Camino. The hands on the window, like the kid, like dad, come back.
You even Star Wars, bro?
Seriously, what am I even? Why do you even have me on here?
My brain doesn't work half the time, so I can't planet characters.
That's what I got out of those. This flashback scene was him kind of attempting to come to terms with the tragedy and connecting it up to these people who have been misunderstood. And I love the conversation that the Tuskens have with him around that fire, where they say there are different tribes.
Right.
All we've got
really
in Star
like
Wars,
that,
where the Tuskens are mindless savages. They just
Tusken
kill.
Raiders.
Yeah,
they're the Tusken Raiders.
Well, but it doesn't also help that like all we see of them is they shoot at a pod race. They kidnap Anakin's mother.
They attack Luke Skywalker.
And
so to get this tribe that he's with saying, that's a different group. There's more of us. And so I love that that's the title of the episode, The Tribes of Tatooine. They're not all the same. They're not all painted with the same brush. And that's how I interpreted that. So for Boba to kind of connect his trauma, the things he's dealt with, connecting it to the people.
I like
maybe
that.
He unites the tribes, and that goes to a prediction I have, and I don't know if we're going to do predictions tonight or not.
Oh, wow.
Well, we can lay that out. I mean,
that's an interesting thought, Jacob.
I like that.
Jacob's fresh off seeing Lawrence of Arabia, so that's
This is true.
Well, I mean, and not to interrupt your flow there, Nick, but
no, I'm talking too much. Go ahead.
One thing, no. One thing that I loved about and I know it's a Legends book, but the Kenobi book that John Jackson Miller wrote has a lot of information in there about the Tuskens. I mean, a large part of the book is about Obi-Wan communing with the Tuskens and actually building a relationship with the Tusken tribes for a common goal. And I don't know if they ever did that in the comics. I'm sure they did, but for me, that was kind of a new way of looking at Tuskens at the time when that book originally came out, is that, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you've got these different groups of people, these humans or whomever, coming onto their planet. They're the indigenous people of this planet. And so, you are going to have some Tuskens that aren't real happy about that, but then you're also going to have Tuskens that are just trying to live their life and not be bothered by people. And so if you haven't read that Kenobi book, as far as it being Legends, it's really good. See, Nate's with me. I mean,
And again,
is really
I'll
good.
turn in my fan card whenever I need to, but I haven't read
No,
that one. So
no, I mean that one. I just the only reason I read that book is because I like John Jackson Miller a lot, and he's a good author. He's done a lot of stuff outside of Star Wars, and so I just
you talking about that reminds me of another thing that somebody else said last week, or later last week. After the train deal, and Boba kind of has the conversation with the Pikes. If you're going to come through here, you're going to pay tribute.
Yeah,
it's going to be repaid, whatever. So we know that flashback is before Mandalorian. And so we see the evolution of the Tuskens, because what happens in Mandalorian when Din goes with Toro Calican in season 1, he has to pay tribute with the binoculars in order to pass through that territory. So Boba has set up this idea that if you want to come through here, you pay a toll. Like it's not the indigenous people's story in the sense of like we introduced, whiskey or some other detrimental thing. Yeah. But like the change, they really kind of set it up with the swoop bikes, the technology. They talked at one point about, well, they have rifles. Well, you have rifles as well. You have, these other things. So this relationship, unlike a lot of more traditional indigenous people stories and arcs, is somebody going, these are people too, and this is a way for them to advance, and this is a way for them to protect their territory and protect who they are. And so what I think we're going to see is a couple of episodes where we maybe go away from that, but I think it's going to circle back before the series is over.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of, and again, I mean, we've got a lot of different properties that use this same. I remember this episode vaguely, and I liked Firefly. It was a good show. But there was an episode like that, and then obviously very prescient to the Deucecast Extra, the Taylor Sheridan verse is very much about
coming up next hour.
Coming up next hour. But yeah, I mean, we've got, again, they're doing some really interesting building blocks for the next 5 episodes that we're going to get. But I do want more current, but I'm okay with all this Tusken stuff. I think it's really fantastic, and it's really helping the viewer understand like this version of Boba Fett. And it's maybe, and even if it's not the version of Boba Fett that you may have thought you needed or that you really wanted, I mean, I think that at least is explaining from the standpoint of who he is when we see him in Mandalorian. I mean, it's kind of, this is at least building towards that, and explaining why he wanted to go back to Tatooine and basically try and take over, because again, he's trying to protect his new people group, which is these Tuskens that he has become part of their family. And so in order to do that, he feels like he needs to go back to Tatooine and take over everything. So, and it looks like he's going to have some opposition. So that'll be interesting.
I'm calling it right now. If we're going to make like predictions,
do it.
That lady Tusken Raider is going to die. And it's gonna be like a really powerful emotional moment.
Whoa!
I'm right there with you, except I think the chief is gonna die. My original prediction, I think I said this last week, was that by the end Boba dies, Din gets Boba Fett's starship, which sets us up Mando season 3. My alternate take on that is Boba retires, and after the sacrifice of the Tusken chief, he gives over his armor and ship, and he goes to live with the family that accepted him as their chief going forward.
Interesting. He's going to marry her.
He
then when
might
she takes
marry
off
her.
her mask, it's Kira.
Oh man. Did we see
I think
him
that's
pick up
possible
from the gun shop? Yeah. I mean, they might show us
that's absolutely possible.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, they may. I mean, that's one of those things they don't have to do, but they could. I mean, that they
kind of show don't tell it with the episode The Tragedy, when they're both together and she does the reveal of her robot guts, and because he makes the quote, what is it? Something comes from the wretched or whatever it was. Even sometimes fate steps in to rescue the wretched, I think is what it was, something like that, and tied into that whole moment. So
yeah, awesome. Well, man, this was a fantastic episode. I don't know if this is a spoiler alert, and I've kind of learned to not trust IMDb, but I'm going to say this anyways because I think this is fact. That the next episode that we get is directed by. Oh wait, they switched it. They took it off. I thought it was the BDH episode, the Bryce Dallas Howard. I thought she was doing chapter 3.
I think the thing that dropped last week is that 6. Is that the one that's going to be?
No, she's directing episode 4, so we don't know who's directing episode 3.
But 6, I think, is the one that's supposed to be written by Dave Filoni. I think is the thing that came out last week. One of them is going to be written by Dave Filoni.
Is he not directing one this time?
Not that I've heard yet, but they've also, for originally it was going to be all Robert Rodriguez. We've obviously gotten some other folks involved, Steph Green, all that.
Yeah,
so.
There was rumors there were other directors, but But the weird thing is, in previous seasons, we've kind of known who the directors would be.
Yeah, it's kind of like a surprise this time for some reason.
Except for the Peyton Reed episode.
Well,
we didn't know that, and everyone thought
that was the episode that everybody was speculating like crazily, like who could be directing this last episode.
George. It's George.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, this next episode, we'll see. We'll see if it'll be more flashbacks.
We had a big runtime jump from the first episode to the second episode.
Very Mandalorian.
Yeah,
where do you think we end up for episode 3? Do you think we end up somewhere in between the two?
Yeah. I think 40-something minutes is what I'm going to say. I don't think they're going to do 53 minutes. Was this 53 minutes? Was this one? Or was it even longer?
The first one was like 36, and the second one was like almost an hour.
Wow. I don't know. That's pretty crazy.
That's interesting because it didn't feel like an hour-long episode.
It really didn't.
The back end felt long. But
no, see, it was only 51 minutes. It was only 51.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
one thing they did with Mandalorian a lot is the fluctuating times on the episodes. Whereas the MCU, they kind of got them down to like a certain amount of minutes per episode.
Right.
And what I like is they seem to be telling them just, make the story you want to make in whatever time.
This is interesting. Episode 3 could be directed by Dave Filoni. Yeah, I don't know. I could have sworn Bryce Dallas Howard was that, but it says here on IMDb that she's chapter 4.
We'll find out in 4 hours.
We'll find out in 4 hours.
All right. Did you not enjoy the Tusken Raider moments? The hilarity of riding the
montage of them trying to jump from one bike to another.
Come on, Ross. All right, let's wrap this up then. Nick, where can the people find you on the interwebs?
The best place to find me is in any of your social medias at WillsPod. That's, everything I do, all the times I run my mouth, all the different things I'm doing. That's where I am. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, although I don't know how to use TikTok. I'm too old. There is an account there, but you won't find anything. So Twitter's probably your best bet. At WillsPod, Podcast of the Wills. Check it out.
Awesome. And I'll you mentioned it briefly earlier, but I'll plug your streaming Star Wars. If you want to hear Nick talk more about Book of Boba Fett, on Fridays, you're doing streaming Star Wars, right?
Friday night, streaming Star Wars, me and my buddy Pete Fletzer, who's the host of the Around the Galaxy podcast, which Scott Rifen has been on as a guest. Pete and I have kind of teamed up in this new year to combine our podcast feeds. Every other week you get Around the Galaxy or Podcast of the Wills. We're working our way through Return of the Jedi, canon studies, all that good stuff. But on Friday nights, we're doing streaming Star Wars. And so because there's 100 million different, unpacking the Book of Boba Fett episodes things.
Yes, there are.
We've kind of said that it's kind of like sports talk radio for Star Wars, like live chat, people putting their comments in. We're going to talk a little bit about the episode that we just had, but we're going to focus on the other news because streaming Disney Plus Star Wars stuff, we're in 2022. Like I saw a thing that was tweeted last week from Disney Plus, Andor, Bad Batch season 2, Kenobi, Boba, all those things are this year. Like all of that is this year. Like we have a plethora of things just in 2022.
Yeah, the only thing that is rumored to be delayed now is Mandalorian season 3.
Mando 3, right?
Well, okay. So during Christmas, every production in Hollywood pretty much takes a break until New Year's, and everyone comes back in beginning of January. So the problem is everything shut down because everybody came back to set, and a bunch of them have Omicron, whatever. And so they've had to shut down a bunch of sets like Picard, I guess Mando season 3 now. I think that's just going to be an industry-wide thing, but I wouldn't expect it to be
delayed
I don't even expect it to come out this year anyway, but I wouldn't.
Well, it could do the December 29th thing. It could be like whatever the last Friday
of the year.
Super late.
Yeah. So
I did see that they just dropped a couple of hours ago tickets and announcement about D23 in September.
I saw that. Yeah.
So we could get some sort of trailer, something for a Mando season 3, maybe for D23 or an Ahsoka series. Obviously, there's a lot of time for some of that stuff to be dropped then.
They're casting for Ahsoka right now. So,
Brian, you must have heard this on Doom
about
Talk,
that
because I don't think they would do that. I don't think they would do that.
I've not heard.
I think Andor's production is done. I think they're in post production at this
point. They're
in
post. Yeah. That's
and Rob, you're right. In-person D23 is what they're advertising at the moment. Tickets and that.
Well, they're still advertising in-person Celebration. I mean,
or that's on the bubble, because what was it? Was it E3 that just got moved to virtual in the last week? So there's a lot of Celebration current ticket holders and those of us who hope maybe they're going to release some and we can work it out.
Yeah.
Celebration, I think, is still certainly on the bubble at this point.
Yeah, unfortunately. All right. Well, Ryfin, where can the people find you on the interwebs?
You could find me on Twitter at SUPASH3, and because I don't brand myself well, I have a different username on Letterboxd, just GRyfin on Letterboxd. That probably should be my username everywhere, but I love keeping that Twitter name just because it's a remnant of childhood me thinking that I could like sup Ash because I liked Ash Ketchum from Pokemon. So yeah.
Hey, there's a lot of people that probably know.
We finally learned the story.
Yeah. I knew the story already. He's told it many times. But,
I've told it on the Deucecast before, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's the Pokemon. Hey, Pokemon making a lot of money nowadays. So
yeah.
That series 1 is
money.
Yeah, series 1's apparently like sold for $3 million or something
you're
ridiculous.
Talking about the cards?
The cards, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
exactly. So
awesome.
Well, Nick and Ryfin, thank you guys so much for joining us for Star Wars Conversation. And we will certainly be back next week for Chapter 3. And gosh, who knows who it's going to be directed by? I guess we'll find out in a few short hours. So look forward to talking to you guys next week. And we will take just a quick break for our transition into 1883 conversation. So thanks again, guys, and look forward to seeing y'all next week.
Awesome. See y'all.
And abruptly, we are back. We're back, obviously, to talk about a show that I am absolutely loving, which is the prequel series to Yellowstone, but really can be a standalone series, in all honesty.
The origin story of
the origin story, that being 1883. No new episode last or the week before last or last week or whatever, but they took that break for the finale of Yellowstone. I get it. But I will say there was a very good making of 1883. So if you've got Paramount Plus, and
watch that.
Yeah, it's actually really, really good. I really liked it quite a bit. It just some insight on what the actors went through to train for the show. There's apparently a cowboy boot camp, which
just like in Yellowstone.
I want to go to the cowboy boot camp. So on this huge, massive ranch,
you can't handle it, Mikey.
I probably couldn't.
Be honest.
This that ranch that Taylor Sheridan bought in Texas, they've got for all the actors, they had to go do a cowboy boot, like learn how to shoot a gun, learn how to ride a horse.
I bet Taylor Sheridan wore them out.
From what it looked like in that making of, they looked pretty worn out. Yeah, I mean, I didn't see much of Sam Elliott though. He's probably like, I'm not going to be doing this cowboy boot camp. But this episode
He's probably done a lot of it
by the brand new tropical punch flavor of Zoa.
Oh, and I am drinking a Cerveza, a Firestone Walker Brewing Company, 805 Cerveza.
Did you say Walker Brewing Company, like from Yellowstone?
No, Firestone Walker. It's from Mesquite, Nevada area. It's pretty good. I don't normally like Mexican beer, but this is a pretty good one.
Oh, tropical punch. This might be my new favorite flavor, boys.
Oh, man. It's like a Hawaiian punch.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Make sure you always, of course, get the zero sugar. Zero sugar. You don't need
key.
You need fake sugar made in a factory, made in a lab, because that's all you want to put in your body is things made in a lab. No natural ingredients at all.
No, yeah, nothing natural
at all. So, man, this
chemistry.
This was a really good episode. I mean, to me, first of all, you have to go in expecting it to be a different vibe than Yellowstone. I think that's what is tough. I mean, it's funny because my father-in-law is watching this show because he's a huge fan of Westerns, but he is not interested in Yellowstone at all because he was like, oh, that's a silly show. He's like, but 1883.
Is he enjoying it?
Oh, he loves it. Yeah, and a comment that he made, which was interesting because Rhett kind of was hesitant to watch 1883 because of Tim McGraw. But a comment my father-in-law made, which I agree with, is that he's very good in the show. I mean, he is. I think he is. Yeah, I think he's really good.
I think he's holding his own, punching above what a lot of people thought was his own weight.
And Faith Hill, I think she's impressed me more so than I would have expected.
This episode especially, she had a lot to do in this episode. And whether some of it was a stump double or not, but still, I mean.
And I'm not going to lie, her driving that train or the wagon across the river did not look very difficult. It did not look like she was very deep.
No, it didn't.
But her reaction to it was much different. So for the point of the story, we'll believe that it was very hard.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and I think obviously James was like, we're going to be doing this in the evening when the tide is low, and I know it's not the ocean, obviously, but the depth of the river, the Brazos, was much lower.
From over there has not gotten here yet.
Yeah, it was much lower, so maybe it was a bit easier than especially what it looked like once the immigrants were trying to get across.
And I think her big thing was she was worried that one of those, she was going to hit some spot and just drop.
Yeah.
Like her whole thing would shatter. And so, I mean, exactly. I agree with you. I agree with you, Roth, but I think some of it was like, she was like, what if I drive in the wrong spot? This thing gets stuck. And anyway, I don't know.
But,
but before we get into this stuff that was good.
Yeah.
I have to repeat part of the opening narration. I looked at this place and saw my unfinished soul. I looked at this place and knew, for me, that war was over. I know what I am now. I'm a cowboy.
She knew what she was now.
God love her.
It's so tough. Not only do we get the bad accent, we also get her singing in a bad accent.
Oh, but that
I think her singing was okay.
I
Her
think
singing
her
was
singing
okay.
was
She kind of
sweet.
dropped the accent for it.
Yeah, she did drop the accent a little bit for the singing, but she's obviously a very talented actress. But the accent thing, maybe they needed to have a dialect coach instead of a cowboy coach. But
I think she's
don't know.
trying to imitate Tim and Faith with their Tennessee accent.
Well, I mean, and that's tough because that's their natural. I mean,
I know.
that's Tim and Faith like natural, so that's super tough to do.
That's a Tennessee type.
Yeah, and I'm still like trying to figure out this whole dynamic of who the heck this Spencer kid is going to end up being. Like, is it going to end up being? You know, my theory was that Spencer, who we met in the flashbacks on Yellowstone, is actually Elsa and the other cowboy's kid.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like my theory of Enos and Elsa's kid is this Spencer kid that we saw in the 1883 flashbacks, not on, or I'm sorry, the Yellowstone flashbacks that they showed. So we'll see.
We've got a long journey to go still.
We've got several seasons to go because I'm just like, it doesn't seem to me that James and his wife are of the age where they're going to have more children. So I don't know. It's interesting. Maybe they would.
You'd
but
be surprised.
The German guy doesn't look that much younger than Tim McGraw.
Well, that's true. Yeah, and he hasn't even started a family.
Plan. Let's get pregnant for the trip out there.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
That's
you got to wait till Oregon. Wait till you get to,
what are you thinking?
Wait till you get to the promised land.
Montana or Wyoming or Utah, so you're only like 3 months pregnant while you're going through the mountains, or 2 months pregnant.
Yeah, because the mountains, good grief. I can't imagine that we're going to get all the way in this first season. Like,
no, I hope not.
That'd be too fast. I mean, because they're not even out of Texas yet.
They're moving very slow. My first note I kind of have down is hopefully this is the episode that kind of gets them going in motion. We maybe cover a little bit of ground here, but at the same time, I think what the show has is a good thing. I don't need it to. I don't need it to take place in real time, like which it's seeming to happen.
Yeah. I
mean, they're building characters right now.
They are
establishing. But you're right. I do feel like let's get the thing going with the wagons instead of just sitting around.
I missed this comment earlier. Great bad Southern accent. Hey, that's what
I can do. What Isabel. Accents. I can't do good accents.
That's what Isabel May kind of sounds like. I like her a lot, but man, that.
So I'm trying to remember how this one even starts. It
starts with her getting the pants from the gypsy.
Oh, that's right.
We have the Jungle Cruise girl is wearing pants. Multiple moments of that.
Yeah, she's such a rebel. She's so modern.
She sees the gypsy woman riding by with pants.
There is some practicality to it. Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, no, there's some.
And then Enos is out there. He goes, "Well, you gonna be riding that horse in them pants." I ain't never seen no girl ride them horse like that. He's kind of a doofus, by the way. I don't know.
I like him. I like his simple ways.
He's definitely. He is what he's good at is moving cows and knowing how to help them along their
right.
Yeah,
pioneer.
He's not a Mensa member.
He's I mean, high society.
And there's a sense because when she plays the music at the end, I'm thinking, okay, so. And when they came in on the train in the first episode, you saw they were pretty high dressed for travel. And so I'm thinking, I wish they would sort of emphasize, like it would be, to me, it'd be interesting if it was like she fell in love with this cowboy, Faith Hill, but she's a little bit like all of them are kind of like, well, we're rough and tumble.
Yeah, but I will say that they weren't riding up in first class and the nice seats. They were back in there with the.
Well, no, I'm not saying they got to be that. I was just thinking.
Yeah, that would be an interesting angle for.
Like, it doesn't make sense if she's such a tomboy, but she can play Moonlight Sonata on a piano. I was like, oh,
she's educated.
She one of them educated girls.
Yeah, she's very educated, and well, but well-rounded. because obviously she had some skill that her dad taught her
Mhm.
on cowboying, for lack of a better term. So she's was already skilled in that.
Hey, was this the episode the little boy got the deer, or was that last episode?
That was last
That was
episode.
last.
Oh, okay,
episode.
they're
That
all
was
running
episode
together.
3. Yeah,
When you weren't
no.
on with us, right? No,
Oh,
that was 2
No,
weeks.
he was on. No, he was on.
You missed one of them.
The first one.
The very first one, I think.
Was that?
The first 2 episodes. I don't know.
They all
Maybe you
run-
missed
can't
the
remember
deer.
either.
You might have missed the deer episode. I don't know.
It
I
does.
don't even know what episode we're on. 4?
4.
Okay.
It's episode 4.
Really? Oh yeah,
Yes.
there were 2. I keep thinking it's 3, but you're right.
No, this is just this is actually only the 4th episode, and it does have a title, and I was going to have
Yes, the
pulled
crossing.
up. Yeah.
Awesome.
So compared to last week's title, which
river.
was wait,
Right?
maybe it was Yellowstone that had the
Yellowstone had
ridiculous
that
title.
long.
Yeah,
thing.
Yellowstone had the
Yes.
ridiculous title, but this was a more normal title. More really good stuff from Sam Elliott and LaMonica Garrett.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Both
they're probably
of them.
my favorite part of the show. Honestly,
Yeah, they're so good, and we got to see some more backstory on
LaMonica's character.
Shay's character, because they showed Sam Elliott's character Shay. They showed him during the Civil War.
Mhm.
So that was
that was
like he was having some PTSD,
Mhm.
and he was like, "Man, I wish you sleep like a baby. I don't know how you do it." And
The way I grew up, the things I've seen, shit. I ain't afraid no nightmares. We slept to escape them, which was very good line.
LaMonica Garrett's character has the best lines. In
Yeah.
this thing. I mean,
That's Thomas, right? It's his name.
Thomas. Yeah, they have given him all the really good lines.
But you can tell there's like a lot going on behind him, you know. And they're
sure
about he's obviously probably escaped at some point, maybe.
Oh yeah, he had to escape slavery at some point.
And like we get that meeting of the minds on how to cross this river, right?
Mm-hmm.
Near the beginning of the episode. Yeah. And after everybody kind of walks away, Sam Elliott's just like, I need to use his name, Shay Brennan.
Shay,
like,
yeah.
I don't understand these people. Like, it takes a lot to surprise me. It's shocking me that these people aren't headed to Galveston to go back home.
That they haven't given up. Yeah. Exactly.
And he's like, the most scary thing in life is the unknown, and these guys are going into it. That's crazy. And that's when another great line from Thomas is about how they wouldn't want to go home. Their home sounds awful. They're not allowed to do anything. They're not allowed to think. This is the first time that they're being allowed to think for themselves. And then Thomas, about the whole unknown thing, says, "That's because you ain't never been whipped, Captain. Let someone put a whip to your back and tell me the unknown is what scares you. These folks ain't never going home."
Yeah, exactly. They're going to do
that was an awesome line. The way he delivered that,
such good. Yeah, the way he delivered that was really good, because you felt everything behind that in the way that he delivered that. So it was really, I'm just really impressed with that guy, who I've not seen in anything before. I know he's been around a long time.
Does Jacob know he likes your tweet? Did we talk?
Oh yeah,
yes.
yeah, he did. He liked that tweet. Not many people are talking about 1883 just yet, but I think it's getting very popular.
Yeah, I think it is too. I mean, even just the people that I kind of follow, like even like some of the Barstool Sports people are getting big in on it, and they're like, holy cow, this is better than Yellowstone. I'm like, let's hold on. It was a rough season.
Yeah,
slow down Yellowstone, kind of, but I'm kind of with
I might
them.
be in that camp actually in some way. Yellowstone. Well, anyway,
this season was a weird season. I'll say that, and I'm gonna blame the pandemic for them having to stop production, do a bunch. I'm gonna blame it. I'm blaming the pandemic, but look, Taylor Sheridan can't be perfect, guys. Come on, and he's almost perfect.
Well, he already proved that.
There's some good. No, don't get me wrong. Yellowstone's strong. I'm not trying to.
Hey, Those Who Wish Me Dead was a good movie, dude.
Oh, I know.
It was fine.
No, Roth is janking on it. It was a good movie.
It was okay. Look, I will blame Aussie Nate for he's soured me on it with his firefighting past.
Oh yeah, because he was like, "That's not how a fire spreads."
And that's all I can think about now. Like I don't usually care about that stuff.
I don't know. He said he left because he hasn't started it yet. But yeah,
hey, we didn't start the fire.
Yeah. Oh, okay. See, sup,
See, that's about what I gave it. I gave it like a 72, 73, I think.
Earl said it's in his top 10 of the year.
Wow.
I did not say that.
I'm just kidding.
David said that.
David did. Yeah, and so I thought it was weird though when James was like, I promise I'm going to help you guys, but then sort of clandestine, like crossed the river because he knew it was the safest time to do it. So I'm like, he's the one.
And he knew that he wouldn't have to cross it with everybody else. And
everybody else. Yeah.
The beds wouldn't get pushed down. And
he felt he could help more people if he got across. And then they would be there to go out.
It's like the airplane thing. Put your mask on first, take your mask off, then put your air mask on, then help.
I do think he's a little bit of like sort of, I mean, I know they're trying to play him up as all like aloof and like a Dutton connected to the Yellowstone, but I'm like, I don't know. I do like how Shay was like yelling at him across the river, and he's like, you'd be
what the hell?
Yeah,
he's like, I thought you were going to help us.
And he did. They helped a lot. I mean,
they did. Yeah, no, they did. I mean, to their own almost detriment, they helped a lot.
Faith Hill almost died.
Yeah, she had scratches all over her face. That was horrible. I mean, she looked.
And then all the people had to dump all that stuff they had packed their.
That was a pretty rough scene. Those people, because especially the piano player guy, like I really felt for that guy.
Oh man, that was a great scene where the guy was just like.
Oh,
I was actually talking to my mom about this, and I was like, God, these people were just not very bright, which isn't fair because we've obviously got the whole hindsight, perfect judgment type of stuff. But she's like, the big thing with it is that it was so glorified, and it was just built up to be this grand journey. And
the West, like in general,
they said, it's going to be easy.
It wasn't talked about how hard it was going to be and whatnot. Right. We even get some of that with Faith Hill's character about you didn't tell me everything meant everything.
Yeah.
Like when you're gonna have to give this your everything type of stuff.
Yeah. Like, and I mean, it really hit her. Yeah, it really hit her that this could be like, you mean my life? I mean, which you would think. I mean, her sister-in-law took her own life because of this trip already, so there's already been massive loss.
Like 9 kids.
After losing 9 kids, I mean, there's been a lot of loss already that we've seen just in the first, part of the journey that they've been on, and so they're losing a lot of people. I mean, by the time they get freaking to Oregon, there's going to be like one group of people left. I mean, there's
going to be Yosef, and
it's going to be Yosef, exactly.
2-month-old
Yosef and his wife, maybe.
It's his wife and a baby, exactly, and that's going to be it. The gypsy, they're for some reason keeping her around in these episodes.
She's going to be a love interest for Thomas.
I guess. I mean, or he's going to just. Well, he already feels very much like protecting her because remember he's like driving her.
Well, she doesn't have
wagon.
anybody, so yeah.
Yeah. He's really in protection mode at this point with her.
But,
so.
I like that scene where she's like, "Oh, I just want to look at you," and he's like, "Ma'am, you don't want to be doing that." He's
right.
He's trying to say, "Look,
there's degrees of free." Line was good.
Yes.
And he was even like, "You don't understand in this country. I mean, you don't want to be associated with a black person just yet.
Right.
I mean, that's just not something that you should do."
Years.
Give it some more time. But it's interesting that he. Had to explain that to her in that way because she certainly didn't although she is seemingly almost like the version because she's looked down upon by the Germans.
She would be looked down upon by Europeans.
Yeah, so
give her what?
Which is puzzling. Like, why is
she's going to be put in a concentration camp if she stays in Germany?
Exactly. Like, why is she even on this journey with these Germans? Like, how did she even get mixed up with them?
I think there were a lot of gypsies in Germany. Well, I guess I should say the German area because maybe there was Germany by now, but Germany was a pretty new country by this point. And I think there were a lot of gypsies in that area. So I think she's like a German gypsy.
German. Yeah, but I just mean like how could she
end
afford
up in America?
Oh, right.
I'm just puzzled, like how she could afford to make the trip with all these
she was
other
married
immigrants.
to
A German or another? Was it another
it could
gypsy?
have
I think
been
it
a
was another
German.
gypsy.
Yeah, it could have been somebody who had wealth who married
A gypsy.
a haughty gypsy, and
Interesting.
it would happen. It could happen.
So yeah, it seems like she's going to be a pretty big part of the show, though. I mean,
Mhm.
they've focused
Oh,
on
yeah.
her like the last 2 episodes, really. I mean, so I think that she's going to kind of be a big part of the
No,
show.
there's
And
there's a little romance going to develop there.
well, maybe.
I think she's a pretty capable actor, especially kind of compared to like
yeah.
Enos and the other cowboy.
Well, Enos and the other guy are supposed to be that way, though.
They are.
I mean,
They are. But sometimes it's a little bit of that breaking of the fourth wall type of stuff where it kind of takes you out of it, which isn't a phrase I like to use a lot. But
yeah,
their characters are kind of like, oh, that's right. This is like kind of a funnier. They're supposed to be here for some cut the tension of the.
They're kind of the comic relief.
Mhm.
yeah. But I will say the other dudes, they're using him as kind of like he's super knowledgeable about how to handle the cattle. I mean, because
Wade or whatever his name is.
They very much listened to him when
Wade.
they were talking about how to get the cattle across the river and stuff.
Because
they took his
first.
Yeah, they took his advice. And was it he? I can't remember if it was him that wanted to kill one of the cattle, or somebody talked them out of that.
Yeah, he wanted to kill one once they crossed, because
Once they crossed,
he was sick of the hardtack biscuits and bacon.
That's right.
And he thought everybody was getting a little too skinny, and had the line about this isn't the time to be skinny.
Yeah, they're like, "Where's the cook? I thought we were going to have a cook."
Yeah, and he was like, "Wait till we." Where did he say they were going to pick one
Kansas,
up?
Topeka.
We'll pick one up.
I thought he said Abilene.
Maybe it's somewhere in Kansas.
Well, Abilene's Texas.
It is.
Yeah, and so the Abilene
is
in the western part of North Texas. So they're going up towards Abilene. Abilene's like right there, almost as you're getting into. I guess it would be Kansas. I don't know. Geography's not my thing.
I know. Because I know they're going through Texas or through Kansas at some point, right?
Yeah, they have to. Yeah, at some point they'd have to.
Do they? Isn't that a little farther east?
Well, they're going up and to the left. So they're going
you'd
up.
Think they'd go through.
They're going diagonally.
Yeah, so like they would barely hit. That's what I'm so confused about, is how they go through Kansas, because Fort Worth is like, if they're going up diagonally, they would barely go through Kansas, and there's no city. Liberal Kansas is kind of down there, Garden City.
So they just crossed the Brazos. So if you look at from geographical standpoint where the Brazos is, that's kind of the way they're going. The Brazos River.
That's a real thing? Did Taylor Sheridan just make that up?
No, the Brazos River is a real. Oh, no, he's trying to be as authentic as he can.
I know, I'm being stupid. You mean there's a real place called Oregon? What?
It was interesting that Brennan, or like Shay, was so when he was talking to what's the German character's name? Joseph. When they were when he was having that conversation about Joseph, like, is it worth it? And he was really talking up Oregon. Like Shay was like, yes, it's worth going. I mean, it is very much. Money. Well, but I think he's also he's made the trip several times, and so he's able to, at least from that standpoint, explain to Joseph that it is worth doing. It is worth all the hardship that they're going through, and really the loss of not only life, they've already lost, a lot of them have lost life, but a loss of possessions as well, and that they'll pretty much have to like start over. And Joseph is still really fighting the whole concept of him being like in a leadership position. Like, I still find him not being the best. You know, he had to console the piano player guy, but I still find him not being a very willing leader, I guess.
Well, he's got a really rough situation. I mean, because he's got, Shay being pretty hard on him, and just tell the people to,
And I think that's part of the language barrier problem, right? Is he doesn't know how to get his point across because they can't speak English. So he's like, if I just get mad enough, they're going to see that I'm mad and hopefully just do what I tell them to. I don't care.
You're talking about Shay?
They hate me. Yeah.
And then Thomas is like, they ain't gonna follow you if you keep.
They're not gonna. Yeah, like Thomas. Every episode is like, dude, come on.
You gotta relax.
You can't be this hard with these people.
Come on, Cap. Drop it down a little.
Thomas is kind of like, make me your enforcer.
Yeah, that's true. He has said that a couple times. Yeah.
With James, he's like, I'll make the point go across with James. Trust me.
Yeah, exactly. I do want to see that. I want to see Thomas. I want to see Thomas be the enforcer because he's
the nice guy.
I'm ready for him to beat somebody up.
He's the break on Shay's. He's kind of the guy that sort of mediates a little bit.
Well, did you find where the Brazos River is?
I did. I'm very confused by it. Am I able to share my screen here?
No, I don't know how to do all that sharing of the screen. Oh, wait, what's this? Maybe you are able to share your screen.
Okay.
Oh,
look at this. Okay, so they start out in Fort Worth, right? Did you say Abilene?
That's where they're going to get the cook.
Okay. So why are they kind of going south?
Okay, so is this the Brazos right here?
Yes. And so the headwaters of the Brazos is right here.
So they just passed through. So they're, well, maybe that's just the route they have to go, sort of circuitous up to like Abilene, then through Lubbock.
And then let's see.
They're not going to go. Will they go through Kansas?
Right. That's what okay. So there's Abilene.
Yeah.
Kansas, like they're headed up this way, right? So say they just head north from Abilene.
Pay attention, kids.
You're going to get your this way.
Well, I guess one thing that it's tough for us to know for sure is from a standpoint of
wagons.
Well, also like from a standpoint of what cities were really around. Like Lubbock might not have been a thing yet.
Right.
So,
right.
So they have to have supply stops.
That's fair.
I mean, Abilene is they called that out for sure because they're wanting to pick up a cook in Abilene.
Now,
and maybe that's just a territory. We don't have a map of 1883 Texas.
Dodge City was definitely around in 1883, I believe.
Right. It was.
Wyatt Earp was there, right?
That's right. That was, hey, maybe we'll get to see Wyatt Earp. I don't know the timeline on
Kevin Costner.
Yeah. That was...
How great would that be? I mean, come on.
Dude, Kevin Costner as Wyatt Earp. That would blow my mind if they did that. That'd be a little too on the nose.
That'd be too Star Wars.
That'd be like, that's too much of a Star Wars. That's a little bit too on the nose.
That would be awesome.
Now, one thing that was interesting to me is, so my father-in-law and I were talking about 1883 today. I had to go over there to help him with something. And he mentioned a character in the movie The Harder They Fall that's on Netflix.
Yep.
The character that Delroy Lindo plays is apparently a real dude. And I failed to look up the character's name. And so he thinks that at some point they're going to run into this guy in 1883. Like they're going to run into...
Why would they do that?
I don't know. He says that timeline-wise, that particular character was very...
What?
Bass Reeves.
Yeah, so Bass Reeves was very active in this time, like 1880s.
Maybe so.
And so he's like, they're going to make sure, Taylor Sheridan's going to make sure they run into him. And I'm like, come on now. Come on, I can't.
Well, that's crazy talk.
The Luke Skywalker, this would be like Kevin Costner showing up, the Luke Skywalker moment. The X-Wing, you see he's on his horse coming in to Dodge City. Now, I hope that they don't do that. But I'm
game for it.
I'm game for any cameos that they might want to throw out there. But what if Delroy Lindo shows up at this guy and that you cross universes, cross?
Oh my gosh, we can't go that far. That's crazy.
So he worked mostly in Arkansas and the Oklahoma territory. So,
that's why he said, no, they won't go through Arkansas, will they?
No, but they will go through the.
And they wouldn't
No,
go
no,
through
Arkansas is too far east.
Yeah, and they wouldn't go through Oklahoma either then.
Yeah, they will. Because you have to
Oklahoma.
if they're going to Kansas, they have to go through.
Yeah, they have to go through. So maybe that's why my father-in-law was like, he's gonna run into this guy because Oklahoma. So I don't know.
He'd be 45, Garrison. What do you mean historically inaccurate? That's like perfect.
Historically inaccurate.
You gotta trust Garrison's fact checking. He's
Bass was born in 1838. Yeah, he'd be. Right. What do you mean historically?
Yeah, because it's 1883.
Oh, okay. He said, "Never mind, disregard." Okay.
Okay.
Now the question I had was when she was singing "Beautiful Dreamer." Beautiful.
I looked it up. That was a song that was like way older than that.
Okay, just want to make sure.
I looked it up because I was thinking the same thing. I was like,
I was having an anachronistic thought, and then what about the scene where she was kissing, and then all of a sudden there's Dutton? I thought, oh crap.
Oh, I know, right?
That was a good scene.
My whole thing with all of this historic stuff is I should never doubt Taylor Sheridan. Like they're not going to make a mistake. Oh. Like they had. That's why you need to watch the making of because they had everything that they were doing in preparation for the show. The costumes, like everything was historically accurate. Like Taylor Sheridan was like insistent.
The armpit hair.
The armpit hair, dude. Hey. Whatever works. Yeah, because Isabel May's character had armpit hair,
and the German lady that gave her pants had I can't know.
Did she?
Well, no, gypsies. That's a gypsy thing for sure. But I mean,
that's a modern day gypsy thing.
That's a modern day gypsy
Don't look
thing.
in the eye of the gypsy.
And that's an Eastern European.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's an Eastern European thing. So no, Taylor Sheridan's not going to mess up any historic. So maybe this dude could show. Maybe Bass could show up. I'm for it now. I want it to happen now. I want
your father-in-law has an inside scoop.
No, he doesn't keep track of that type of stuff.
Yeah, but what did Dutton tell her? What did John tell his daughter? Or tell that guy?
Oh well, he was just. I think he was just giving him a hard time, but I mean, he's like, I'm not going to do anything to you because I need you or something like that. I need you to help with this cattle, so I'm not going to do anything.
And then he tells, oh man, I don't have Isabel's main character's name.
It's Elsa.
Elsa. Yeah. Okay.
You just think Frozen.
Yeah.
And you'll remember.
We'll try not to let that go.
Elsa. Yeah, exactly. But
he tells her, she gets to tell her mother, which is a classic dad line.
Yeah, that was great.
Right. Well, and also at some point, I don't know if this episode, he was like, if I'm going to, let you do all this stuff and treat you like an adult, I'm not going to all of a sudden, in this one instance, not treat you like an adult. Although she's being really cheesy with, do it again, Enos. Do it again. Like the kid. I'm like,
in the narration about
he's a teenager.
It's a strange thing we do. It doesn't make much sense, but I just couldn't help myself but want another one. I couldn't wait for that moment to come back to me again. I'm like, oh my God. If you didn't have this accent, this would be a very kind of hot scene, but it's just ruined.
Exactly. I mean, gosh.
Well, let me say this about her, though. Well, should we talk about the crossing scene?
Yes.
I wasn't expecting that to affect me emotionally, but for some reason.
Oh, the piano. Yeah.
I was going to. Are we ready to go there? I think.
Yeah. I mean, we're definitely.
I mean, I don't know why, but that just really got. And then when she started crying, I was like,
when she started crying,
I was like, man, she's
good at what she's good. She's a talented actress. I mean,
and then that lady drowning and Faith Hill's character. What's her name? The Faith Hill character?
Yeah,
Margaret.
Yeah,
Margaret
Dutton. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And then we do get a very good line from Enos. Don't you know any happy ones?
Yeah. Don't you know any happy ones?
Yeah, I'm all in this mood, and all of a sudden he says that, and I'm like, dude,
way to ruin the moment. Way to ruin the moment, Enos.
I'm in the Malik moment. I'm sitting here.
Moment.
This is a moment here with the music, and
I'll be the center here. That moment saved it for me.
Oh, okay. You didn't like that.
I just want to see the crossing. I don't need to be cutting back and forth with her bawling playing the piano.
But I think that
I didn't think I would. I see what you're saying. I thought some people may not like that.
I think that she played that perfectly because the emotional baggage in her mind of this might be the last time in a very long time that I get to play the piano, and so she's sort of leaving that life behind her now. And so that scene resonated. It was good. I think it was pretty good.
But I know what you're saying. I was thinking, man, this is kind of. Now I'm with you a little bit, Roth. At first I was kind of like,
it went on longer.
Really dramatic, huh?
I didn't know they were going to play. She played the whole song. I didn't know that they were going to show her.
It was a 9-minute scene.
It was really long. Yeah,
I actually stopped it and watched it again. I was like, oh my gosh, this is.
If we would have got her starting to play it, and then the rest of it being the crossing of the river, and then maybe we go back to her and she's crying. Yeah.
But they stayed on her a long time.
I think it was a little bit of a cheat too.
Yes, it absolutely was. That's exactly
really cross that many wagons.
Yeah.
That was the first thought I had as well. I was like, this is how they're going to get out of.
It would take hours
showing all of this and budget and
make you think they're crossing, but really,
it would take it would take hours to do that. It would be like dark by the time all of them, because if they started their whole idea, or James's whole idea was to start like around noon, I guess, like start as the the heat of the day is at its worst, because that's when the river recedes.
Horses want to go in.
And you've got the cattle, being cooperative and wanting to get into the water and stuff. It seemed like the cattle crossed really easily. I mean, they had no problems with that at all. It's just these stupid immigrants having a hard time. But I mean, none of them knew how to drive. None of them really knows how to drive a wagon very well.
Yeah, or how to swim,
or how to swim.
So if they fall in, man, they're drowning.
Yeah. So
just stand up. It's not that deep.
I do need to bring this reference. May be a little too young for you guys.
Okay.
But it made me think of a SpongeBob episode, which is a show that I watched all the time growing up.
I don't know.
There's an episode where Patrick gets cramps while he's swimming. And like is drowning SpongeBob, and it's very funny, and it's exactly when he said, "Don't let anybody get too close to your horse, or they'll drag you in." She's like, "Why would they do that?" I'm like, "Oh, SpongeBob."
Yeah, why would they do that? Because they don't know how to swim. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they didn't see that episode.
Yeah, no, I missed that one. I've seen all the SpongeBob movies because my kids watch them.
I've only seen like one SpongeBob movie, but
there's like 3 of those things.
I've seen the one with David Hasselhoff.
The one with the Keanu Reeves and Danny Trejo one is pretty good. That's the most recent one.
Okay.
That one's actually pretty funny. Keanu Reeves is a sagebrush. It's pretty funny. It's like his face in a sagebrush, and he's supposed to be like the wise sage telling Patrick and SpongeBob. Anyways, whatever. But
we're off topic.
We're very off topic. I'm trying to think if there was anything else major that happened in this episode. I mean, obviously, a lot of the immigrants lost their lives, and they're digging a lot of graves.
Yeah. Faith Hill was trying to help them.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. She was pretty shell shocked. I mean, I
know.
Yeah, started like at the end. She was just
trying to help that.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I mean, she tried to, and probably feels bad about the fact that she couldn't save that woman.
Sure.
Yeah, Elsa probably could have stopped and maybe gave her mom a hug instead of just riding by.
She just rode by her.
We got another. It's just like Force Awakens. Chewie just walks right by Leia.
That's right. That's right. There's no consoling. You just walk right by him. Because she looked like Faith Hill looked really shell shocked from this whole thing.
And she's like, "Well, that's it. I got to do my monologue."
Me and Enos, do it again, Enos.
Make your lips touch mine.
You know any happy songs? She's like, not a one.
No, yeah, exactly. I don't know.
She said something like, "That's not me," or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what she said. Yeah, I mean, that was interesting.
Y'all missed. I mean, that moment. I mean, I hate to say.
No. I was there. I was there.
Emotionally,
I was there. I felt it too. I was with you. I knew. Now you shouldn't have told me about that.
It was a Schindler's List moment for me, guys.
Yeah, you shouldn't have told me about that, because as that moment was happening, like you told me before I saw the episode, like as that moment was happening, I was like, okay,
this is what Earl's talking about.
This is what Earl was talking about. Is this going to emotionally get to me as much as it did Earl? And when she started crying, I mean, that was pretty good. I mean, she's good.
I was in a weird funk anyway, so it was like, you know.
Oh man, sorry, Earl.
Well, no, that's all right.
This is a safe place, brother. If you need to, we need to have. I need to cue that song.
Up is what I need to do.
That's right. You need to cowboy up. I'm going to cue the song, and you're going to start crying on here.
Now, Jimmy, we're not going to have that kind of stuff going on.
Don't make me send you to the sixes, Earl.
Yeah, the sixes, exactly. You're out. What else do we think? Like, I can't think of anything else that really happened in this episode.
Yeah, I mean
that was the big climax. Yeah, the last 9 minutes of the show.
So
Shay had a good line about this talking back is getting contagious.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Shay doesn't have much patience for anybody, really. He doesn't. I mean, but at the same time, he knows what it's going to take. He's done this trip a lot, so he knows what it's going to take.
Army background,
and he's coming from
where what he says, he was the captain. What he says
that wasn't interesting. Oh, so in reference to that scene where this talking back thing. So that's when James, like, don't call me captain. I'm not in the military.
Don't call me farmer.
Don't call me farmer. Right.
And he said, then James is like, I don't call myself captain either. I was one too, but
that's right.
See you later, captain.
Yeah, exactly. That was he and James. I think are going to go to blows at some point. I mean, if I'm surprised they already haven't, but
we're going to get a nice little fist fight. I think between the two of them.
At some point. I do want to see Sam Elliott cold cock somebody. I just want to see just him
like a horse. Like he just
sometimes that's how guys need to establish. They need to establish dominance. Have a little fight. Once you get that out of your system, you're going to be fine. It's going to be smooth sailings, and you're going to respect each other a little bit more.
That's not how we do things in
civilized. That's not how we do.
We just go drink a frappuccino and talk about
talk about our
this
feelings.
Is 1883.
This is 1883. Yeah, exactly. Come on. I mean,
you got to slug it out.
Whenever they bump into Wyatt Earp in a few episodes, they need to be ready.
I'm just more and more wanting that to happen.
Now you need to we need to look up when was Wyatt Earp prominent in Dodge City. We need to look up the dates on that because we need to see when did the gunfight at the OK Corral? Like, what if they just walk through it?
In the middle of it.
They just show James walking through the gunfight, like, and that's all we get to see. It's just the gunfight at the OK Corral. But
around May 1876. So I think he spent the winter of 1876 to 77 in the gold rush boomtown of Deadwood.
Oh.
Yeah, Deadwood.
Well, that's in California.
No, that's in South Dakota.
Oh, Deadwood was South Dakota. Okay. Yeah.
I've been to Deadwood.
I went and saw all the actual graves of the people from Deadwood.
Holy cow. I loved that show, by the way. I never watched the movie. I watch
it. It was okay. It was a good cap to everything. Everybody was a whole lot older.
Well, yeah, exactly. And what's his name was dead. I mean, that one actor passed away before. Oh gosh, the guy that was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Powers Booth.
Powers Booth. Yeah, he had passed away before the movies started.
Yeah. Deadwood is an awesome town. Gambling and whatnot. In Deadwood,
I think I've been to Deadwood. There. Is that just straight up from Devil's Tower in South?
Yes, it's kind of it's like maybe an hour and a half from Devil's Tower.
Yeah, when I did my Western trip, I think we stayed in. There's gambling in there.
Yep, a bunch of casinos where. Who was the guy that died in the beginning of Deadwood?
Oh gosh,
the big cowboy name.
It's been so long since I've Wild Bill Hickok.
Yes.
Yeah.
The place where he got shot, they've got a little plaque there and whatnot.
A little plaque, yeah.
I think there's a casino called Wild Bill's actually, or maybe it's Hickok's.
Hickok's. So did we just rule out the fact that they could run into Wyatt Earp altogether? Unfortunately,
yeah, pretty much.
They could run into Doc Holliday. They could run into.
No, he died.
Oh shoot!
Doc Holliday's dead. What?
What's the line? The Val Kilmer. I'll be your Huckleberry.
No, Huckleberry. Huckleberry. You know how I feel about Tombstone. Don't even
look. I like both of
Tombstone them. Is the Fast and Furious version of the Wyatt Earp story. Tombstone is not. I hate Tombstone. Yeah, family.
Well,
if you want to watch a real version of the Wyatt, watch the Kevin Costner version of that movie.
I have also been to Doc Holliday's grave. That's in Colorado.
Okay.
He died in 1887.
I think I have too, actually. Now that I think about it.
It's right off of I-70 on the way up to like Breckenridge and
yeah.
He didn't die until 1887.
Mm-mm.
Maybe they could run into Doc. He would be like super sick though, because he had tuberculosis like really bad. I mean,
we could be coughing up a lung on him. Mikey is making.
For a certain group of people, I guess I did make Tombstone sound really good. The Fast and the Furious version. That's what it is. Tombstone. No good.
Tombstone
no good
is very
at all.
Quotable. It's very fun.
It's great.
Wyatt, if you really want to get the
great.
biopic,
if you want the good, the real, you go to Kevin Costner.
If you want
version.
the 4-hour version,
The 4-hour version.
They're both great.
That's the best thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
Pshaw, whatever.
I'm with you, fellers.
Mm-hmm.
With you, fellers.
I'll be your Huckleberry.
Let's see. What other famous cowboy could? What about Billy the Kid? Was he around during this time?
Well, he could be up in Wyoming.
Let's see. What was his real name? Oh crap! It just left my brain.
Oh no, he died in 1881.
Oh,
1981.
1881. Now the Young Guns 2 would posit that he lived much longer than what.
Have you seen the size of that chicken?
The history books would say, yeah, because
William Bracey. What was it? William?
Yeah, it was
Bonnie. William Bonnie.
Bonnie, but William H. Bonnie. Yeah, that was his real name. But there was that guy in that they found like in the middle of nowhere in Young Guns 2.
Yes,
a Malik version of
Wyatt.
And what about Butch Cassidy
and the Sundance Kid?
He wasn't real. That was a real person, was it?
He was absolutely real.
Oh, yeah.
He died in 1908.
Oh, he
may have been down south in Venezuela or wherever he went by now, but maybe
if
not.
Taylor Sheridan does any like weird stunt casting, I don't know if I'll be able to forgive. I don't know if I'll be able to forgive him. I would not want him to do that.
We could run into Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid because they're hanging out in Wyoming up in the.
They're making waves. Yeah, they're making waves in Wyoming.
So for the Duttons to get to Montana, they got to go pretty much near the hole in the wall.
I hope that he doesn't do any of that, but it's a possibility. I mean, they certainly could run into real people. I mean, because I think the Billy Bob Thornton character in the second episode, I think it was the second episode.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Was based on a real character. I don't know if the character's name that they chose in the show was the actual real name of the person, but I think I read that it was based on a real character. That was a cool part in the making of where they were talking about just being in awe of Billy Bob Thornton. Like Tim McGraw said that he messed up a line or something because he was just such in awe of Billy Bob Thornton turning it on. Like when he walked into that bar and he just turned on like that like he was a bad A all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And just started shooting people in the face.
A little intimidating, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He was a real person.
Oh,
Jim
okay.
Cartwright.
Oh.
Jim Cartwright?
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Also known as Long Hair Jim or Big Jim, Cartwright was a sheriff in Fort Worth, Texas from 1876 to 1879. In 1887, he was killed in a shootout with gambler and gunfighter Luke Short.
Wow.
All right. Well, maybe Sheridan's going to do this more than I thought he would then. Maybe we are going to run into some of these famous people as we go down the road a bit. But
he might do more. I mean, because that guy's not quite like one of the big ones.
He's not as like famous. Yeah.
So maybe more obscure people.
And you know what we could run into is some famous Indians, natives.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Geronimo.
Yeah. And like even like that type of thing with like the Jim Cartwright level where it's like, if you know your Western history,
you're like,
oh, that was yeah.
Maybe we could run into Wes Studi as Geronimo, since he portrayed him in the film. Geronimo, an American legend.
Maybe we'll run into General Custer out in the middle of. Hello, gentlemen. We will be doing a.
What if Tom Hanks was portraying one of his ancestors? That'd be. I don't know. Tom,
wait a minute.
That was really random for Tom. Oh, and that's the other thing in the making of, and I guess this is kind of a spoiler alert, that Rita Wilson's in an episode later on. So it's like really strange that like Sheridan's like calling up the Hanks family. Hey, Dude, they better not have Chet in an episode because Chet Hanks is that dude's
man.
a tool. That dude is a tool.
Get me
Rap
that
star.
dead eggs, man.
They'll get the other Hanks. What's the
Well, the Colin Hanks is the more reputable one.
Colin
Chet
Hanks? They'll get Colin.
Chet Hanks is like a rapper, I guess. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's pretty rough.
All right, boys.
All right, let's wrap this up. This was fun. Any music in this one other than "Beautiful Dreamer"?
Well, Moonlight Sonata is what.
Yeah.
she
Oh yeah,
played by
Moonlight
Beethoven.
Sonata.
That's true.
Yeah.
Beethoven. I didn't get a chance to check the year on that. But
I'll turn to my
it's all
1800s
accurate.
music info to Dr. Earl. I am more so of the West
The
Texas
modern
country.
I had to
Redwood.
look it up. But it's Moonlight Sonata.
Yeah, it is Moonlight Sonata. So, Dr. Earl, we know you are no place to be found. You're off the grid.
Stitcher.
You're like the Duttons. You're off the grid. You cannot be found.
Play with nobody.
Every once in a while, Dr. Earl is on the Deucecast Discord, so you can find him on there.
If you say something in there about Lawrence of Arabia, it'll pique his interest.
It pings him. He gets a notification.
He gets something goes off in my brain.
Exactly. Roth, where can people find you on the internet?
Yes, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Roth from Wyoming. I also have a podcast, the Good Day for a Movie podcast. We just reviewed Casablanca. That episode was a good episode yesterday.
Yep.
Awesome. Lots of fun with that one. We just got our pick for this coming Monday. It is another Western. Keeping it in this realm. Once Upon a Time in the West.
Oh,
good one.
Yes, like classic. That is a good
one. Really just completely out of left field from Sage, but I'm very excited to see it. I've never seen it. I guess it's like 3 hours long, but that's fine with me.
Yeah, it's long. Yeah, no. That's an epic.
And then yes, you mentioned it earlier, and
Aussie Nate. Yeah,
I believe at the end of January, Aussie Nate will be on an episode. I believe that episode will come out on the 31st. So I am very.
Did he tell you what movie yet?
He has not yet. He said
it's probably going to be Two Hands. That's the movie he talks about all the time. Is Two Hands.
Is that an Australian movie?
It's an Australian movie.
So both of my co-hosts, both Tate and Sage, spent some time in Australia and New Zealand. So they are very excited to have an Aussie on.
He's an authentic Aussie. So he's been on the Deucecast a couple times, one time.
Yeah, at least twice.
At least
twice if you count 500. I'm not the Deucecast historian, but
yeah, that's true. You know, that's Sup Ash's in the chat right now. He is the historian. All right, well, this was fun, guys. We will definitely be back next week to talk about episode 5 of 1883.
Wow.
And until then, we've got a Deucecast episode dropping tomorrow. The first part of an epic Reflections that
love it.
We are having to split into 2 episodes. It was so
it's
long.
Mega Reflection.
Mega Reflections.
Mega Holiday Reflections.
The first episode that drops, we will talk about the Golden Globes, and we're talking about some predictions and stuff, and so it's an interesting episode. So that will drop tomorrow, but we will definitely be back next week to talk about more Book of Boba Fett and more 1883. So thanks, guys, for joining us, and thank you for the chat. The chat is always awesome. As always, if you want to share this episode so we can get some subscribers, like the episode, mash the button, ring the bell, do a jig, watch Wyatt Earp, not Tombstone. I mean, that's everything I got for you. So I will hit this button and see you guys next week.